If today feels smoother again, like things are no longer stretched, like what felt like effort is now manageable, this isn't random. Something has integrated. The growth you stepped into, the expansion you managed, the adjustments you made, have now settled. You may notice that your rhythm feels natural again, not the same as before, but familiar in a new way. You're doing more, but it doesn't feel like more. You're handling more, but it doesn't feel overwhelming because your system has adapted. That's the shift, from managing growth to living within it. You're no longer adjusting constantly, you're operating at a higher level without resistance. You may also notice that your confidence feels different today, not based on results, not based on momentum, but based on stability. A sense that what you're doing is now part of you, something you can maintain, something you can continue without questioning it constantly. And that's what makes today important. Because growth is no longer something you're building, it's something you're sustaining. You may also feel less need to analyze everything, less need to adjust constantly, less need to manage every detail, because things are working together, smoothly, consistently, without friction. So if today feels easier again, more natural, like what once felt like effort is now part of your rhythm, it's because expansion has fully integrated. And this is your new baseline. What you're experiencing today is not ease by chance, it's adaptation completing. Everything you've been doing, the repetition, the structure, the expansion, the adjustments, has now reached a point where your system has caught up. That's why it feels natural again, not because things became easier, but because you became aligned with them. When something is new, it requires effort, attention, correction, conscious engagement. But when something is repeated, refined, and integrated, it becomes automatic. That's what's happening now. Your actions no longer feel separate from you. They feel part of your rhythm, part of how you operate. And that shift removes friction. You may notice that your awareness feels more relaxed, not because you're less focused, but because less effort is needed to maintain direction. You're not managing everything anymore. You're maintaining it naturally. That's what creates stability. You may also notice that your decisions feel quicker, more intuitive, more immediate, less processed, because you've already built the understanding through repetition, through experience, through consistency. And now you're operating from it instead of thinking about it. That's the transition from conscious effort to integrated function. And that's what makes growth sustainable. Because what is integrated doesn't require constant effort. It continues on its own. So what you're feeling today is not just comfort, it's alignment reaching stability.
This is where today becomes subtle. Because when something becomes natural, it's easy to stop noticing it. The first trap is dropping awareness. Things are working. Your rhythm feels stable. Your actions feel automatic. So you stop checking in, you stop observing, you stop refining. Not intentionally, but because it feels unnecessary. And that's where drift begins. Slowly, quietly, without immediate signs. Because what is automatic continues even when it shifts, and without awareness, small misalignments go unnoticed. The second trap is assuming this is final, believing that you've reached a fixed state, that nothing needs to evolve further, that everything is now complete. But growth doesn't stop here. It stabilizes so it can evolve again. And if you treat this phase as the end, you stop progressing. There's also a subtler pattern today, lowering your standards. Because things feel easier, you may give less attention, less precision, less presence, less intention in how you move. And that slight reduction can slowly weaken what you built. Because stability still requires maintenance, not effort, but awareness. So the real calibration today is conscious consistency, continuing what works while staying aware of how it works, not tightening everything, not overanalyzing, but staying present enough to notice changes, to refine when needed, to maintain alignment over time. Because what makes today powerful is not that things feel easy, it's that you maintain them at a high level. So how do you maintain this level without losing awareness and without disrupting your flow? You stay engaged without over-controlling. Because today is not about doing more, it's about maintaining quality. Start by continuing your rhythm, the same actions, the same structure, the same consistency that brought you here, without unnecessary changes, because what works should continue. But at the same time, keep your awareness active, not in a heavy way, but in a light, consistent way. Notice how things feel, what remains smooth, what begins to shift, what stays aligned, and what needs small refinement. Not big adjustments, just precision. Because mastery is built on refinement, not reinvention. You can also maintain your standards even when things feel easy, especially then. The same level of attention, the same level of intention, the same level of presence, because that's what keeps your structure strong. Not intensity, but consistency in quality. You may also find it helpful to allow space for natural evolution. You don't need to force growth. It will come, as long as what you've built remains stable. So don't rush to expand again. Let this level hold. Let it deepen. Let it become fully integrated. Because that's what creates mastery. Not just doing something well once, but maintaining it over time. So today, stay steady, stay aware, stay consistent with what already works, and let that consistency become something you can rely on.
Let everything settle here. Not to pause your growth, but to recognize it. Because today was not about building something new, it was about realizing what you've already built. And that matters. So take a breath. Steady, controlled, unforced. And notice what remains when you stop trying to improve everything. There's stability here. Not forced, not temporary, but consistent. And that consistency is what creates trust. Not just in what you're doing, but in your ability to maintain it. Because now you've moved beyond effort, beyond testing, beyond uncertainty, into something that holds, something that continues even when you're not thinking about it. And that's what makes this phase powerful. Because growth is no longer something you chase, it's something you sustain. So not everything needs to change. Not everything needs to expand. Some things are exactly where they need to be. And when you allow that, your energy stabilizes. Your direction becomes clearer. Your movement becomes consistent without needing to be forced. So as you move forward from here, keep returning to that. What is already working? What already holds? What continues naturally? Stay there. Let it deepen. Let it become stronger over time, because that's what creates mastery. Not constant change, but consistent alignment. So carry that with you. This ability to maintain what you've built without disrupting it. And if this helped you feel more grounded, even slightly, return to it as your next phase begins. And if you want to keep moving through these shifts with more awareness, more control, you can come back here, each day, not to rebuild, but to continue at a higher level.